vacant following the demise of the late Member of Parliament, progressive, sellable, charismatic, who uplifted Kibera constituency's status from the depths of despair to the great heights of hope. But the question remains, who will succeed him to be the next Member of Parliament, even as many have now made their ambitions with regards to taking over from where Ken Okoth has left. A lot of twisting political points, to which the 2022 political card is also evident, as the ODM party is set to field a candidate ahead of the primaries. But first, we talk to people who equally have expressed interest in becoming the next Member of Parliament for Kibera constituency. On my immediate right is Malasen Hamida Twahir. She is an aspirant to become the next Member of Parliament on a Jubilee ticket. Next to her is Okoth Opondo, an independent candidate, who has expressed interest to be the next Member of Parliament. Next to him is political commentator and a strategist, well versed with the politics of Kibera constituency, Dan Orogo. He's our regular guest on Tuesdays. Dan, thank you. And on my far right is Editor Acheng. She is an aspirant on the Ukweli party. Well, I'll come to you, Dan, first from the political analysis point, with which I want to understand or get a gist of what is set to transpire by the 7th of November 2019. That is in about 1.5 months' time. Taking lessons or drawing lessons from the Ugenya and the Mbakasi South by-elections, and now Kibera constituency, a stronghold for the ODM party, the Orange Democratic Party movement of Raila Odinga. Does it yet again prove to be another slippery slope for the ODM party if lessons have not been well laid down from Ugenya and Mbakasi South?
Thanks, Ayub, and congratulations to my colleagues. And I'm proud of each and every one of us for expressing the interest. And first of all, Ayub, first things first, I am a bit really taken aback by what I have seen transpiring on different platforms about the possible political landscape that is taking place in Kibera.
All right.
First of all, let me begin by saying that traditionally, Kibera has been affiliated to
the ODM,
Orange Democratic Movement. And to be specific, been some factors that need to be considered when anybody is expressing interest in Kibera. Like you've said, the ground is slowly shifting. And I would want to confidently, and I wish we had somebody from ODM, probably because of the limitation. But then I would also note that the ground is not really as we think. We are handling voters who are, knowledgeable about their voting constituency. We are handling voters who really know what they want and look at the 2013 and 2017 trajectory.
All right.
When voters single-handedly voted in Ken Okoth amidst a number of challenges from the party.
Okay.
And as I conclude, I also like to say that in Kibera, there are three things that possibly will happen. One is that we are going to see somebody who will win with a small margin. And simply because there is a divide. They might be divided votes. All of these candidates and those who have not come have potential followers in Kibera.
All right.
And they can be voted with a number and a number of majority. And that means that they will take a chunk. And I am seeing that if ODM do not find it right,
all right,
then we probably will have the first candidate being an independent candidate in Kibera. Alternatively, we'll have even a female member of parliament coming in Kibera this time around. So the ground is, the factors are not really constant as we expect, but we need to put this into interrogation.
All right. Well, a general question then to Editor Malasen and Okoth. Why do you think, the why element, you are the perfect replacement for the late Ken Okoth, progressive, sellable, charismatic, outgoing, and he was one person who lessened the proximity of power from the authority topwise, downwise trajectory to the people. They felt his leadership. Coming to your Okoth then, why do you think you're the perfect replacement or the sitting to fill the big shoes of the late Ken Okoth?
First of all, thank you so much for this great question, and also congratulations to the fellow panelists here. And I'm so glad that for the first time, we are seeing a very good representation of women and young people in these elections. So myself, I'm the current Secretary General of the university students, the movement of university students in Kibera, that is the Kibera University and College Students Association.
From Kibera constituency.
From Kibera. Yeah, there's an association that was formed, and actually Ken Okoth, the late Ken Okoth, was the patron. And having served under his leadership and also having shown us actually how we need the community, we want the community to look like, I feel like the right candidate should just come from the same people that Ken Okoth mentored in one way or the other. Because this is one person who really inspired the community. He might not really have been like the kind of politician that we see, but he gave us hope as young people that actually politics can be used as a tool of change for changing community. And I'm a person who was born and brought up in Kibera myself.
All right.
I've studied in primary school in Kibera. I've been living there all my life. So I've mingled with these people, and I know exactly how I want Kibera to look like. When we talk of the kind of change that we want to see in Kibera, we know what we are agitating for.
Okay.
And also just considering, because the first question that you started by asking about ODM, and I know in the near future this politics is going to turn to be about politics of ODM and other people. But we want to take the direction of discussing issues, not discussing individuals and political parties in the near future, because, I mean, we are at a time that this country is in demand of new voices and new ideas into the political landscape. So, I mean, some change must happen in this.
Okay, Twahir,
Yes.
why? The why element?
The why element is that, thank you very much, actually, for the invitation. And what I would say is this. There's a lot that we do within the community. In fact, I vied in 2017.
All right.
And since that time, I've been working within the community with different organizations. And I have my own organization. And I've been a human rights activist, of which immediately after elections, I shifted the thematic area to become environmental justice defender.
All right.
So I've been involved so much on environmental matters. In that aspect, I've been so much on the ground with a lot of issues with actually women, basically, and the youth. So the issues that affect Kibera, I'm more conversant with it. And then actually I have educational background. I'm an educationist, an adult educator.
All right.
Therefore, in terms of transformation, I'm at that level whereby I can say, I know what is best for Kibera. And the Kibera politics is actually shifting. There's a direct dynamic change, whereby now maturity is actually the key issue. People are matured in terms of politics. Jubilee, in fact, I vied on a Jubilee ticket for your information.
And you still are?
I still am. And surprisingly in Kibera, we have a Jubilee office in Kibera, in the heart of Kibera.
That is
whereby in
Makina.
Makina.
Backyard.
An ODM backyard. And surprisingly, there is no ODM office within Kibera. It means there is a lot of maturity. And that ground is actually shifting on issue-based politics rather than the issue of the parties and everything, because I campaigned very comfortably in a very strict ODM zone. That is the Sarangombe ward. I was walking comfortably. I did not experience violence of any kind. What the people will tell me is that, Hamida, you are just in the wrong party. That was the issue. Wewe tu uko kwa chama mbaya, Hamida uko kwa chama mbaya. But otherwise, we understand what you're doing, and we know what you want, and we know what are your agendas. Because my agendas were clear. I had a clear manifesto, of which I was given the copies. And in fact, from my manifesto 2017 is what I'm actually implementing on the ground up to date.
Okay, then I'll give editor the why element. We come to the other nitty-gritties, of course, the entire politics around Kibera constituency.
So first of all, thank you so much for inviting us here. And congratulations, my comrade, because this is the only way to go and change Kibera. I want to shift political narratives of Kibera. That's why I'm in very courageously, and I'm sure I'm going to deliver. I'm going to work for the people of Kibera. And if I look at the issues that have been there in Kibera, from the youth perspective and also from the women perspective, women needs change. Youth needs change. And they need a leader like me who is going to bring transformation in Kibera, who can work with local people. And it's not only like because I'm a leader, but also when I'm coming with my manifesto, I had to meet all these young people, talk to them, talk to the women, and understand what is their issues, what do they want me to voice up. And That made me to come with my manifesto, which is a community-based manifesto. It's not my manifesto as an individual. So when I'm coming into politics, this is my first time to come in politics like this, but I'm coming out bravely. I'm coming out courageously, and I want to work for the youth and women and the larger community of Kibera. And also I'm looking at Ken Okoth, and the shoe he left was very big. I want to fill that gap. When I'm coming with education, what am I filling in education? When I'm coming with sports and talent, what am I bringing in sports and talent so that we can develop and transform Kibera?
Okay, now what I get is that, or I can draw, is that all of you born, bred, brought up, understand the dynamic of politics in Kibera constituency. Then, let me seek your analytical perspective here regarding the shift in ground politically. And again, our reporter, Ode Francis, has been camping the past 2 days in the constituency. And what you witness is the sense of the groundswell or the echo chamber of the people wanting a sort of paradigm shift from the more or less status quo, the ODM-dominated politics. And this with regards to the slogan, they say, Kibera for Kiberians. Of how much worry does that signal need to ring in the ears of the officials in Orange House of the ODM party? And does it perhaps speak of, say, the constituency sense of nationalism in which they want one of their own to be the next member of parliament for proximity purposes, lessened authority from the top to the bottom, what of course Okoth did roll out, and perhaps a person who speaks the same language as them addresses the point here and there immediately? No much of someone who comes from outside, they say, Sumra, stay away, please, Ongoro, stay away. Is that the right, and is that signal of so much worry of the officials at the Orange House at the ODM headquarters?
And well, I think they should read the signs. That's what I began by saying, that, you see, we are handling voters who are beginning to understand that issues, they need to be a politics that is issue-based. This is a problem that any political party should understand. First of all, I think all the candidates have recognized that Ken Okoth had left a big shoe to fill, and he's left the bar so high for each and every candidate, and that means that his merit must be matched by a candidate who can do more, or rather who can match him as well. But then the issue about Kibera for Kiberans, I think it resonates with this time, simply because it says that one of us, like the late Honorable Ken Okoth, who's born and bred here, understands issues better. It doesn't matter in any village, among 13 or 14 villages in Kibera, where anybody is coming from. But the need is that the fact that any of us grew up there, knows and understands the alleys and the problems, the gutters that are within there, the challenges women are facing, you know, the issues of gender-based violence, the issues of, you know, lack of sanitation, the issues about education. So an outsider who pretends to be having a listening ear for Kiberans might not, because he or she has never been in that situation. But then that also comes in that, how then would you match up these to show yourself, even as you become a Kiberan? But then how do you match to show yourself as a national figure? What is your capacity also to debate on issues, for example, issues that are affecting the whole of the country? Because you are not a legislature on Kibera. But then as you go high, you're a legislature that sits at the National Assembly, not only in Kibera or Nairobi County. But then also, as I conclude this, one of the factors that I tell you that the candidates will take away and run from is how do you manage the issues of goonism? How do you manage the issues of politics of brainwashing? How do you handle the issues about, you know, propaganda and all these rumors? Well, that is very important to note. It is also important to note that, you see, like I said, there will be a slim chance for anybody who will win, because all of these candidates, even those who have not attended this table, if you look at them, they have backing of followers who are strongly behind them. So you will not be swaying voters aside to say that, could you jump the gun and stop voting for this person and vote for the other? So that would be a determinant.
Okay, Hamida, then let me come to you before I go to Okoth here, who carries the same name as the late, perhaps one syllable aspect which might propel your political card. Speaking of your party, the Jubilee Party, you said you contested on the same party in 2017. And of course, you got a considerable number of good votes. in an ODM backyard. But equally, your party, quoting the Senator Nairobi County, Johnson Sakaja, did say that we'll advise the president accordingly, as we did in the Ugenya and Embakasi South by-elections, that we are not going to be fielding any candidate in Kibera constituency in honor of the late Ken Okoth. You are aspiring to be the next member of parliament on a Jubilee ticket. And even the party says, no, Maliha, Tuahir, please stay away. We are not going in for this. What's your option out politically?
Well, for now, the party is, okay, Sakaja gave his opinion, and that was his opinion. From the information that I have, the party has to sit down and decide what's going to be the way forward. Because actually, we are party members and we have followers. And we need to have a level playing field at all cost. And in fact, in Kibera, what I would say, we have the spirit of handshake. The spirit of handshake was not only the hands of Uhuru Kenyatta and alone, it was the hand of Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Amolo Odinga. Now, in Jubilee backyard, in Jubilee House, what we've done in the government, we've accommodated the other part, the ODM supporters. We've given work to different, the president have given work to different ODM supporters.
Opposition followers.
Opposition followers. Now, this is the ground that has to shift. We need to see how serious is the handshake. Because if at all, we are not going to have a level playing field, we are not going to be allowed, it will mean it is a one-sided handshake for me as Hamida.
Okay.
But what I would like to say is this. We are going to forge forward and talk to the party members, party officials, that we need that space. We need that space because we have followers. Kibera is dynamic. We not only have ODM as a party, we have all other parties in Kibera. So we require the space, we need the space to actually express ourselves.
All right.
Yes.
Okoth Opondo.
Yes.
Looking at the availability of what's in front of you, the political pot that contains more than 118,000 registered voters in Kibera constituency. Being an independent candidate, how strategic is this? And did you feel that running on a party might have had its own fair share of problems, thus want to be an independent candidate? And what are your chances? Okay,
interesting because, you know, if you look at the politics of the Kenya of today, I mean, I'm here to represent a population of people who usually feel very left out in the politics of Kenya. Look at the people, I mean, whenever you follow the political rallies, there are people that are always, there are faces which are very common with the political rallies. You rarely see women in these big political parties, in the political rallies, and the people of our ages. We've been born and raised up in this place, and it's just time that we are telling our parents, you know what, it is just, I mean, solutions are not coming forward. So why don't you just stay aside a bit and just look at how maybe now the people that you've brought up in this society, you've educated, can also go out and provide some of the solutions to the challenges that are facing our community. So I do not really think the issue of party should really be a big issue here, because we want to get out, we want to go to doors of people, we want to visit churches, we want to meet people in schools and town halls, and I mean, talk to people, convince them why we are the best. So. Okay. To my colleagues who are also going as independent, actually, that's now actually the direction that we are taking. I want to be there. I want to talk to the people that I'm representing, the young people, and also even our parents, because this politics is not just about the young people, just about that we want now to represent our people. We are the majority in this country. Okay. And I keep on asking how comes the majority are still begging in this nation? Because the politics of Kibera is not just a matter of Kibera, the way Dan said, because it's very clear. When you are seeking to be a member of the National Assembly, this is the National Assembly. Okay. You're not just only to lead the people of Kibera. We want to be role models in this country. We want to show the young people across the country that it is doable. Rise up, come 2022, we want to see many young people. And for us, this is a start. Okay. If we can be able to get out and convince young people, women, old people, to believe in us, believe in a person, not in the institution that is coming. Okay. Believe in this person. If we are able to convince one person or two or three to take that direction, then I can assure you, come 2022, expect to see many young people, because I think there's that fear that without this party, I cannot make it in this area. But I don't think that people are foolish.
Okay.
People are capable of listening, and we've seen it. We even saw what was happening in Migori, in as much as the gentleman was defeated, but he got some votes. We saw what happened in Nevakasi. We saw what happened in Ugenya. We saw what happened in Inyali with the likes of Muhammad Ali. And I think so many people across the country. So the issue of age should never come, should not really play on this on the table. The issue of gender, when we come to this table, we come as leaders who want to lead their communities.
Okay, and the constituency, to be specific here.
Yeah.
Achieng, then coming to you, when you look at the track record of the late Ken Okoth, he equally was one person who championed the rights of women and the young people in the society, owing to the fact that, of course, we are going to be coming back to discuss that after the short break, about the issue of crime, vigilante justice, and the need to uplift the lives of people who live or who are slum dwellers generally. But of how much smooth is the surface that he has scratched for you, especially, and is that an inspirational point that wants to make you rather, or wants you to become the member of parliament for Kibera constituency next?
Yeah, thank you so much. And for me, Ken Okoth was a really role model, and also used to mentor me. I am who I am today because of Ken Okoth, because when he came in, he decided also to empower women, and one of those women were me. And by that time, I was really young, and taking the lead, I've been able also to work with a lot of women. But previously, I used to work with young people, the male and the female. But when I was working, the male had a lot of empowerment than women. So I decided to focus, and I really focused on young women. And today in Kibera, young women are really voicing up. And you'll get even my fellow youth are complaining, editor, why are you empowering women and you're leaving us behind?
Okay.
They don't understand we have issue of gender disparity. We want to make sure that a girl is in the same level as a boy without leaving anyone behind.
Okay.
But personally, I saw that gap, and I was able to bring these young women on the table to voice up their issues at national level and at the grassroots level. So to me, at least, Ken Okoth did something that is so amazing. I'm here today because of him, and I will want all women to come in and concentrate into politics, plus the youth.
Well done. Let me come to you then to seek again another analytical perspective here. And when we look at the happenings at the moment and the Kamkunji Center and Kibera constituency, where people do come and gather to talk about the future of their constituency, we had one name that has refused to go away from the by-elections rather, that have been called for by the courts ever since the 2017 elections. And now that we have the demise of Ken and then the by-elections following his death, one of the constituents in Kibera did say that there is money that is going to be forthcoming from the Deputy President, William Ruto. And that again brings forth the 2022 political card here. On the other end, we earlier mentioned about Kibera for Kiberians, and then there is the ODM party that is deeply anchored in the constituency. This offers the constituents, the 118,000 voters, with the tricky political card on their chest, and offers the three-dimensional web here, which is more or less complex. So which way do you think is out for the next candidate, and of how much importance is that to the people of Kibera constituency, and what can be some of the considerations for the voters?
Well, I once again, I had, this is a fact that, and I'm happy you asked Malasin about, in the spirit of the handshake, what if the Orange Democratic Movement, for example, at the top level, make a decision to ask their friends from Jubilee, like it happened in Ugenya or other, not to field a candidate. And I know the strength that Malasin has, and like all other candidates. But then you realize that, like what happens in the political scene, that kind of a merger or that kind of an agreement might disadvantage her. And it would be very considerate for the two parties, for example, to try to sober up, in such a decisions, to try to amicably, if a candidate, for example, has a potential, then there is a need to give any candidate a chance to participate in the election. Now, coming to what you've said, definitely there'll be political penetration in this kind of election. The name of the deputy president has featured a number of times, and you know, it is something that could be assumed and cannot be wished away at the same time, because at the end of the day, it's politics. I want to urge that in these by-elections, there are a number of times that somebody would use it even for 2022 as well.
All right.
Because it's only 3 years to 2022. If we do not have an objective discussion like the one we are having, then it means some candidate might be wished away with money, for example, resources, you know, rigging, doing things that are not within the elections code of conduct to try to outwit others who are necessarily reaching out to the residents. So I think, for me, it's, even if any candidate would want to penetrate and use other means to disabuse the purpose of election, it could be important for all the political stakeholders, like editors said and the rest, to give a level playing ground for a hearing. That then it becomes difficult for penetration. That then difficult for intimidation. It becomes difficult for, you know, any other misuse of that kind of opportunity. Lastly, Opondo has mentioned something very, very important. How then do we make sure that we have a candidate that is desired? This is the most important thing in Kibera. Because Kibera must get it right. And if they get it wrong, I think in coming forth, we would want to urge all political players, could you leave the candidates to have their own time and reach out to people? This is the most important thing for me. Because if, for example, a scenario is created where a candidate cannot, you know, using goonism and intimidation, cannot reach out to other voting constituency, then that becomes difficult to sell. That then becomes difficult to get supporters. So my only appeal is that Kibera is known for some things that I would not want to mention here on the table. But it's equally important that platforms, for example, like Kamkunji, that I think now is very well because everybody can access that platform and sell their manifesto is very important. But could we open other platforms, for example, Bukungu or anywhere, so that all candidates would actually talk to the voters?
Okay, then I'll come to Okothia and generally to editor and also to Malasan, because you all fall in the category of young people, and this is a constituency that is literally dominated by young people in the voting bloc, to be specific, and generally in its demography. And is it time for the young energy to be instilled, the fresh blood to be injected into Kibera constituency, possibly get another Ken Okoth for until 2022, and then that again becomes a sense of perpetual continuity politically for the constituency script? And of how much importance are young people, how much significance are they going to be in the outcome and determine the results of the parliamentary by-elections that are slated for 7th November 2019?
Right, so let me just clarify something a bit. There's some people maybe who have been asking me, am I the brother to Ken Okoth? Just as you said, that Okoth,
Just namesake.
my name is Okoth Opondo. I know Ken has another brother, but we will also maybe one day get an opportunity to be interviewed here. But let me say something very clear. I mean, this might sound a bit controversial, but I do not think we want another Ken Okoth. When Liki left the office, when the street was still Langata, I don't think Raila Odinga came in to be another Liki. And then now when Ken left, I do not think he came in to be another Raila. So we must also be very clear here that every leader has a role to play at a certain given time. We are all just players in this world because they say it is a theater. So Ken has done his part and is out. And now he's resting with the angels somewhere. So now it is also it is an opportunity for another person to come in office, not just to fill Ken's shoes, but maybe even to do more than that. I want to look at and address the most important issue, and that is the issue of employment, because now when you talk about young people, you know, unemployment is a very big crisis in this country. We want leadership that will be able to engage the community members and actually seek to know what are some of their big issues. And the community members we're talking about, because when you say it is the largest percentage of people, then they must be brought to the table. We must run away from this style of politics where leaders think they know what is good for their people. It is important to go to the people and actually ask them, do you want water stations here, or do you want roads here? It's just wrong to assume that this is what the people want. These people are smart people. We have Kenyans nowadays have gone to school. People are intelligent. They know what is good for them. So these young people that we are talking about are now people who must be brought to the table. When you talk of issues of crime, I do not think any person wakes up one day and says, today I want to be a gangster.
There are circumstances.
Actually, there are circumstances. I do not think there's any person here, even on this table, who would like to say, to one day just to be like an addict or maybe get into crime or be a goon. There's always circumstances to this. And I want us to go to the root causes of these things and try to move these young people.
All right.
That's why we want to reach out to every person, whether they are in gangs or the good people, wherever they are found. We just want to meet every community member and engage them in this conversation. And most importantly, I would be very happy also to see that by the end of the election, maybe none of us is elected, but it's the young people who have participated in this election. They must show up in large numbers so that whatever outcome the Kibera constituency gets is because of their decision.
Okay, then I'll come to Malasen and I'll come to editor. But after this short break here on the program, we are coming back for the next 30 minutes to still get the nitty-gritties, details of what to expect in the forthcoming by-elections, the underlying factors, and of course the ambitious young people who want to be the next in authority to take over from where the late Ken Okoth left. May his soul rest in eternal peace. The short SMS code is 40920. The number is 0791478990. The hashtag on Twitter is NewDayKE. We are coming back after the short break. Stay tuned. Thank you for staying with us. This is New Day Kenya. Ayub Abdikadir, Linda Lela. So this is a discussion that is equally online. So I throw it back to my colleague Linda to sample some of your feedback on Twitter before we come back and continue with the discussion. Linda.
All right. Thank you so much. Another tweet right here, of course, in reaction to what Okoth Opondo had to say. I don't think we want another Ken Okoth. Ken did his part. And we want someone who will do better. And of course, reactions to that. We have one reaction. Someone, of course, Adido saying that indeed there is a point right there. I think we always should strive to get different leadership and leadership that is good. That aside, David Orundo, that is at David Orundo, says, Linda and Ayub, amazing show. Nawapenda, and please bring Karl Marx. I miss his wisdom, whatever he is. I'm sure he must be watching. And then Joan Mumo, that is a tweet by Joan Mumo 254, says, I think Kibera people are just talking for TV, but once Raila endorses someone, they will vote for him or her. Same story, same script. We'll love to hear what, of course, the panel has to say about that. At Malasen, at Kibera, we have the, that is what you had to say. We have the spirit of the handshake. Now, a different tweet right here. Let's just see whether, yes, we can get something. Oh, yes, at Maria Wanja says, her tag is that Shizi, yes, Twitter handle that is, says, I thought Jubilee wouldn't have an aspirant in respect of the handshake. So, of course, we'll react to that. And more tweets coming in. Keep tweeting. It's important that we get to hear from you. And yes, I think artists should stop. Oh, yes, I think those are the tweets that we have so far, Ayub. I'll be checking up in the event that you keep tweeting. And we'll certainly love to hear about what you have to say on this candid discussion that is ongoing. I throw it back to Ayub to, of course, expound even more on the Kibera expected by-elections come November the 7th.
Okay, thank you, Linda, and thank you for your feedback here on the program. Of course, we do not do the show alone. You are part and parcel of the discussion here on the program every day, and we do cherish your contribution. So I'll come to you, Honorable. The essence of perhaps wanting to get the seat, there is the certain political process that you need to pass, and that again proves to be one with many hurdles and a long winding political route. You need to address issues of insecurity, issues of ill health, issues of inequality, because many of the people in Kibera constituency are slum dwellers. So of how much significance is that to your rise to the political arena, to be a president member, to be the member of parliament? And what are some of the laid down strategies and procedures do you think you must adopt to clinch not only the seat, but also ensure that you pick up from where Ken Okoth left and continue with his legacy?
Absolutely. Okay. What I will say about the leadership that Ken Okoth actually brought on board was actually laid by a woman. Because I remember when, during the delimitation of boundaries, the Woodley Golf Course was part of Dagoretti. And Madam Beth Mugo, Honorable Beth Mugo, was the then Member of Parliament, Dagoretti. So what she did, actually, she started a foundation on Shadrach Kimalel Secondary School. Okay, so she did not complete the project. It actually stalled until Ken Okoth came in. So Ken Okoth actually took up and completed the project. And the school was actually realized. And from that point, that is the basis that Ken Okoth had on matters education. That is how Elimu Kwanza was actually born.
All right.
That was because of the direction and the guidance of a woman. So what I would say is this. I'm not just a woman, I'm a leader. Because a lot of changes have been done by women in this country. We have the likes of Martha Karua, we have the likes of Wangari Maathai. There are people who actually transformed this nation seriously. So as a woman, the ground is shifting.
Okay.
At least the attitude change on women leadership is actually shifting. People are starting to embrace the women leadership because of what women are actually doing, despite all the odds and everything. And the issue of gender parities, it's basically on empowerment basis. That is, it falls under my manifesto, community empowerment for both women and youth, and even men, because we have a cluster of people who are not employed. They are neither women, they are not youth, so that cadre of people, they are not empowered. They have to be considered. So with the matters disparity, I would say if people are basically empowered, it will be much easier. We have issue of the girl child. We have issue of the boy child, which has to come forth with a lot of consideration. When you look at security matters, security is basically security holistic. Security of tenure, security of service, security of how people will live, the livelihood security, job securities, because a majority of people are small income earners and they're small business people. They need that environment to actually start business. Or even those who are doing their business, they need to actually to be comfortable enough to know that they are secured to do what they need to do better. Yes.
Okay. Then, editor, let me seek your sentiments then. Going forward, when you look at the man himself who has left this seat vacant following long battle with cancer, he's one man who prioritized what was of importance to the people. He was their ears and the eyes, and the implementation mechanism never took any longer, and there was that sense of patience that they had in him, that it was about you bring A, then the solution is B. Next. That was the sequence, the pattern that the Honorable Ken Okoth did create. For instance, on education, he believed that it will bring a sense of equality among the people. He believed it was a gateway for one to be at all same level when you more or less becoming an international figure or an international student. So what is your investment political target, in the sense that you will want to specify on this specific project that will be your priority as you also tackle others, so that you can be remembered for not only being a member of parliament, but equally one person who has transformed life in Kibera constituency?
Thank you. And with Ken Okoth, I think also the people used to advise him to do all these things were young people. And everyone here will agree, every development that is happening in Kibera today, the ideas come from young people and women. That is the reality. So when you go in Kibera, look at every development, it is because of us. And Ken Okoth has really done amazing things. And for me, I'm also looking at education, because I understand I didn't go to school very well, because maybe I didn't have that opportunity. But when he came, I saw our children going to school and going in good school and getting quality education. And that changed Kibera. So when I'm coming in as a member of parliament, I want to voice up for the people who maybe there was a little gap. Because I'm looking at our children who are disabled. Where do they go to school? So yes, Ken Okoth came with school. But personally, I'm coming with an inclusive quality education, so that at least in every public school in Kibera, we can build an inclusive school for these people. And also I'm looking at the older youth, maybe who didn't get good chance to go to school and finish their college. I want to come up with a technical college in Kibera, within the public school also, if we'll get space, and build, and also so that at least these people can access these schools. Maybe if you have skills, this is where you can bring your skills, be trained, and be somebody in Kibera, somebody productive. And with that, I'm looking at sports and talents within the school also. Our schools in Kibera, atukuzi talanta na saa zingine pia natukosea. Wakati mimi Danorogo anaweza kuwa nafanya vizuri kwa darasa, lakini mimi nafanya vizuri kwa talanta na pia kwa sporti. Hapa ndani ya shule tunaweza kuza aje hizi talanta, ndio vijana wetu wale wakiwa wadogo, wakiwa shule, we nurture them inside the school. So when they get out as people who have something to do.
All right.
So all in all, what I want to make sure that everyone wakona kitu on my table as a member of parliament. Haijalishi wewe unatoka wapi, haijalishi una nini. Kama ukwenda shuleni na sasa unataka kwenda kosi, zitakuwepo. Kama wewe ni mtu wa shuleni, tutakupeleka mpaka university.
All right. All right. That is literally more or less creating an equal platform opportunity for all. Then the ODM party doesn't want the orange to be peeled in such situations. It doesn't want the orange to be eaten either. And I'm sure that they're strategizing somewhere, burning the midnight oil to ensure that they do scoop this seat. But again, other parties or other political formations will want to also take advantage of this vacuum, perhaps to shape up the political debate in 2022. So what do you think is specifically for the ODM party that the tool and the tactic that it does apply, the Raila Odinga and company, to ensure that they do prevent unintended consequence, as was the case with the Embakasi South and Ugenya by-elections?
Well, I think for ODM, you know, having looked through, you know, the two by-elections that were there, and they suffered a humiliating defeat. I think there are things that, as a strategist, we should be advising the Orange Democratic Movement to do. One is to allow the will of the people to prevail, period. If there is a popular candidate in the ground, do not impose a candidate. If, for example, one of the candidates is within the ban of Kibera for Kiberans, for example,
all right,
I think that is the possible candidate that Orange Democratic Movement, since my good friends have said that this is probably some are independent and independent, others are from different parties. But for specifically for Orange Democratic Movement is to look through. Is it possible, for example, right now to endorse the brother of late Honorable Ken Okoth? I think for me that would do for them because of the track. What is done, riding on the legacy of the brother. But then imposing, for example, as an outsider, Kiberans would not want that. And now, the reason as to why
but equally, Dan, you have mentioned an important point before I come to Opondo. It's about the possibility of the ODM party picking up Imran, who is the brother of the late Ken Okoth. But equally, he was a supporter, or they supported the cremation of the late Ken Okoth. And we have the cocktail nature of the voting bloc in Kibera constituency. We have Muslims, we have also Christians, and we have other people. It doesn't resonate well, isn't it, especially for the Muslim bloc who do not believe in cremation because religiously that isn't allowed in the scripture. And of how much concern should that be to the ODM party that in the event they front him, he might not be sellable, owing to the fact that some were even opposed from the onset the cremation process of the late Ken Okoth?
Well, Ayub, you asked me a very specific question about, and I would be really careful to you know, comment in matters that, you know, I really have no deep knowledge about, for example, religious matters. But then you asked a very specific question. What would work? For example, if I would be asked about Jubilee, I would comment about Jubilee. Ukweli, I would comment. But you've specifically asked about Orange Democratic Movement. I think I said before, would they allow the will of people to prevail? Then how do you tell that a candidate is able to get the understanding of the people? Is by having a followership. Because, for example, if for a candidate who is coming from Kibera, would be wise for them to consider the candidate, as opposed to getting a candidate from outside who is not Kibera. Now, within that, there is a number of issues that you have said. And let me tell you that being a politician, there is none who is devoid of issues.
All right.
Even if you are from different parties, people will give you issues. People will mount issues on you.
That's generally politics.
That is generally politics and propaganda and everything. Malasen and Opondo, you know, once they stand out to begin to sell themselves, there'll be issues that you've never had, some of them you've never heard about. So when it comes to that, I think it is important to leave for whoever will be endorsed or whoever would carry the flag to deal with. Lastly, you wouldn't ask, what does Kibera need?
All right.
I think that is very important. for me, Opondo, editor, and Malasen has talked about it. This is what I think for me. And as much as we and candidates need to go down and ask, what do you need? It is also important that the foundation of development of Kibera has been missing for a long time. If Ken Okoth, for example, like Opondo said, somebody should not create another Ken. But I think there is a foundation that is laid, that should be built. If it's an education, it's okay. But then the other candidate must consider then what is another pressing need that has not been tackled. Is it youth empowerment? And if it's youth empowerment, in what nature? Is it through skills? Is it through talent building? Or is it through exposure? Kibera, for a long time, has missed Kibera Resource Center. And I have been asking leaders to try to consider this. All other constituencies has a one-stop center where young people can actually go and nurture their skills, hold their meetings, and do their own important things. There's only, I think, Kibera Town Center that now serves, but I think it's more of a commercial purposes for it that is served. But if we have a center that is owned and driven and managed by young people and women as well, it could be very important. Another thing is women empowerment circles. The only way and the source of empowerment is to build on these circles, these chamas that women have, because this is the basis of economic development, it's the basis upon which these women can stand gender-based violence and can begin to economic development themselves. This is the basis of it.
Then let me come to Okoth here and perhaps lay it down for me in outline perhaps your specific area of focus with regards to if, say, that you are given the mandate to be the next member of parliament, and different political leaders, different leaders have different ways of maneuvering around what's important or of priority to them. So what is your specific area of focus if, say, you have been given the mandate to be the next area member of parliament? Okay, good. I think your question is directed actually to what Edith and Rogo here also trying to address. So number one thing that now we have to consider, and as I said before, in respect to Ken Okoth, we do not want another Ken Okoth. So everyone is struggling here outside and saying, you know what, Ken started this, now I want to continue with it. I mean, that is a fallacy. And also there's another assumption that, for example, when you asked, and Rogue also raised it, what if the party decides to endorse the brother? Imran Okoth is Imran Okoth, Ken Okoth is Ken Okoth, editor is editor, Opondo is Opondo, Rogo and Malasen. We are all different people. And we must come to this table and say this is now what we want to do to our people. So, one, Ken was really a champion of education because he believed that every moment you open a door to school, you're actually closing another door to jail, which is very important because you take people to school, you give them an opportunity now to be able to make their own decision. And the purpose of education is not really to get a job, but to provide solutions to your own community. With all the people who are educated in Kibera, right now we should be asking ourselves, we have lawyers in this community. How comes children and women and even older people still cannot get basic legal services? With all the education that we have, people who have done environmental science and all this, how comes issues of environment are still not discussed, conservation of environment? But look here, Ayub. Kibera, to me, seems to be one of the wealthiest constituencies in this country. Look at the borders of Kibera from where Kibera starts. All these tall buildings you're seeing coming up in Nairobi, I think majority of them are part of Kibera, from Upper Hill. Think of the British Council, that is based in Kibera, the Coca-Cola headquarters, the Kenyatta National Hospital, the National Library, come all the way to the Jamhuri Showground. Today we are talking of a Kibera, with all that population, children have no stadium to play. We used to have a ground called the Bonkist, the Bonki ground, which was taken by the bypass. Now we have the Woodley, which that is actually now where we play and everything happens there. But when it rains, again, it turns to another swamp. Yeah, so we must be able to address some issues which are very important. And this is job creation. I believe that the purpose of good leadership is to create a conducive environment where people who have gotten some skills, and by this I mean whether it is a degree or college education or whatever, you can be able to take that education and now turn it into something that can benefit your community. And that is now what I'm going to champion for. Because again, it must also be very clear to us, sometimes we ask more than what is expected from members of parliament. We must also be very clear to us that what are the roles of the member of parliament? Representation, oversight, and legislation. It's just a matter of pulling investors into Kibera and challenging some of the organizations and companies working in Kibera. And I mean, this might sound a bit radical, but this is something that we are going to do.
even if it means doing some kind of auditing, to understand that some of the companies and organizations working within the boundaries of Kibera,
All right.
what is the percentage of their people that they've employed? Because I know there's a law somewhere that says a certain percentage of your workforce must come from Kibera.
Okay.
And I think that is very important. Every time we are tired of every morning seeing very well-dressed people getting into Kibera with buses, and then the people from Kibera walking out to industrial area, to Westland, to see our women and our mothers, I mean, doing very odd jobs. Then later on in the evening, as we walk back into the constituency, these well-dressed guys are leaving the constituency. We want to embrace each other, but we must also negotiate as equal partners.
Okay, Malasen, I'll come to you then. One of the big challenge that any person who will be taking over has, or he or she has, is perhaps keeping buoyant or keeping afloat a constituency that has been lifted upwards in terms of the trajectory, its exponential development and growth by the Member of Parliament, the late Ken Okoth. What is your riding, tide here, in the sense that what's your biting point political that you want to say, this is the specific area of focus if I become the Member of Parliament, and I will do A, B, C, D, as we also plan to focus on C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J until the end. So what are your priority points in terms of outlining them in your manifesto to become the next Member of Parliament?
Okay. The bar has been set, and it's the foundation, and I believe that I will not go down. I will continue going up on the bar that has already been set by Ken Okoth. There is this issue whereby, there are health matters. Health matters have been devolved to the county government. That one we know. But what we can say is that there is a need of holistic health matters to be dealt with holistically by the county government in cooperation and coordination with the national government. That means when I become an MP, it's going to be my duty to actually coordinate with Honorable Sonko, the governor of Nairobi, to actually ensure that we have even a serious health facility in Kibera, because currently there are a lot of deaths. There are a lot of mistakes that being done with the small hospitals. We have a lot of chemists that is actually selling a low, substandard drugs, yes, and we have a lot of mistakes. Somebody taking Septrin for a different role, for a different purpose. We find a lot of issues in line with health matters. What we need a hospital within Kibera. That is one. And it is the role of CDF to actually put up structures, but the management has to come from the community or even the county government. It's going to be my role to put up a hospital within Kibera. If it is going to be managed by the county government, they'll have to have a starting point. That is what we need in terms of health matters. And another thing, we need the community center for the youth, because indeed there is youth centers in almost all constituency. We need that as up. We need a talent center for the youths. For the women, we need a platform for the women to actually continue exchanging ideas. Because we have mental health, we have issues. We are going to open women, because a majority are within the groups. And there are others who are nowhere. They have to be incorporated because it's easier to work with a group rather than with an individual. Therefore, we are going to continue actually advising them and actually having the groups and actually assisting the groups holistically, because it's going to actually bring out the issue of peace and embracement of diversity and acceptance, because we have all the communities, the 43 tribes in Kibera. So the issue of peace will have to be encouraged, and the women are the ones who actually do that. Through the organizations, the groups and everything, we'll have a peaceful Kibera.
Okay, then Editor, I'll come to you. And there is also the significant element of perhaps wanting to be the Member of Parliament for a person who hails from the region, born, bred, brought up. And does that perhaps again pose a serious challenge for any outsider? And what do you think, why do you think that someone from the constituency who was born and brought up there is the best and ideal candidate to represent the interest of the people of Kibera constituency?
Number one, being brought up in Kibera, I really understand the issues very well. And personally, I've experienced all these issues. And I came into activism because I was a survivor of sexual and gender-based violence. So anyone speaks about sexual and gender-based violence, and in general, violence against women in Kibera, I will understand better. and I'll even resonate with every story. So just coming from that level and understanding our women, it's important. I don't mind if Malesan will be my member of parliament. I don't mind Opondo, and Danorogo, because all these people, when they get into parliament, they're going to speak my issues, our issues. First, they understand our issues, and second, they know how to solve our issues. So I'll plead with anyone who is coming outside from Kibera, just leave Kibera alone. We have leaders like me in Kibera who have been working in this community, who have really solved a lot of issues in our community, and who are really creative and innovative in terms of ideas. Yeah. So anyone maybe who is coming outside from the Kibera, I don't have a problem personally. They can just come because I know the power is in the people. People are going to vote, and people are going to vote for Kibera. Like me, I come from Ukweli Party. Ukweli Party didn't bring anyone outside from Kibera. Ukweli Party is a youthful movement. It's a youthful political party. The founders are youth people, and they really know I'm coming from Kibera, and I'm the only one who can understand these issues. And when I told them I want to get into politics, they were like, it's okay, we are going to support you, and we are going to train you to become more leader, a good leader. And also I'm looking at our community as an individual also. Community has really invested in me. I'm a daughter of community, whereby they've trained me, they've taken me to school, and I've worked for them. This is the time they should believe in my leadership. If they did all these things, plus investment, what about today? I can be a good member of parliament who is going to deliver and going to work for the people who understand their issues.
Okay, the final comments from Dan Orogo is, and I want it just to be brief here, about the essence of the people now not wanting anyone from outside, an outsider, to be imposed upon them or come and compete. They say if he does or if she does, then we'll just lock him out from the ballot. But if they are imposed, then we are not going to be accepting that. How is that fencing off of outsiders protective politically for Kibera constituency?
I think it's really not a matter of being protective. I think it's just a matter of making a statement that, you know, we've had one of us doing the best, and it's important to more that we get from inside could do much better, because that is what they understand. But then as I conclude, I think in retrospect to the law and the code of conduct for election, I am looking forward to insisting once again that all the political parties must and should provide an equal level playing field for the candidates that are there. The decision that are made within the party structures, and I'm happy that Kweli has endorsed, and there's no problem about that. Malasen is endorsed, and there's no problem about that. Opondo is standing, and there's no problem about that. Other candidates are going. And you see, Kibera can teach the world a very important lesson, that indeed a community can stand up and be counted on an issue-based politics. It can be an example to the whole of this country. So that is my wondering remark. That is possible in Kibera to have candidates who are directly elected by the people themselves.
Okay. Malasen, thank you. Okoth Opondo, thank you. Dan Orogo, thank you. And Editor Achieng, thank you for coming on board. I do appreciate your time. And thank you to you too. Of course, we are taking a break here on the program. When we come back, my colleague Linda will be here, and she will be discussing matters fitness. Of course, practically that will be done on set, and that is an exercise that you do not want to miss as we head towards the tail end of the program on the last segment coming up after this short break here on the program. Stay tuned.